In 2013, California witnessed the largest manhunt in USA history. More than 2,000 police officers were involved in the search for a single suspect. Despite being outnumbered, the suspect openly declared war on the Los Angeles Police Department, striking fear into the hearts of law enforcement officers. Interestingly, many ordinary Americans, despite the suspect being labeled a criminal by the police, considered him a folk hero. Christopher Dorner was born in New Jersey on July 4, 1979. At a young age, his family moved to a suburb of Los Angeles, California, where Christopher spent his entire youth. He was the only black student in his class and often faced ridicule from his classmates. However, he never let the jokes about his skin color slide, which led to frequent fights in school. In 1997, Christopher graduated from high school and enrolled in Southern Utah University. During his time at the university, he made many friends who described him as a cheerful, smiling guy for whom honesty and justice were paramount. Christopher was very strong and athletic, so it was no surprise that he was quickly invited to join the university's American football team. In 2001, Christopher graduated from the university with degrees in political science and psychology, after which he joined the Navy. Just a year after enlisting, in 2002, Christopher commanded a security unit at the Naval Air Station Fallon in Nevada. He then served in a mobile Marine underwater combat unit. During his naval service in 2002, Christopher had an interesting experience that highlighted his character. While on leave, he found a bag of donations for a local church containing nearly $8,000. Without a second thought, Chris turned it into the nearest police station. This act was later reported in an Oklahoma newspaper. When asked by journalists why he did it, Christopher replied that his mother had taught him honesty and decency, so he couldn't act otherwise. During his military service, Christopher received excellent combat training. He mastered various types of firearms, learned many survival techniques in combat conditions, and excelled in hand-to-hand combat. He was so proficient in these disciplines that he was even awarded a marksmanship ribbon and a pistol expert badge. In 2005, Christopher Dorner enrolled in the Los Angeles Police Academy. He graduated a year later and was then recalled to the Navy and sent to Bahrain for a combat operation. He spent 6 months there before returning to the police force in 2007. His police career began with an internship under the supervision of a more experienced partner, Sergeant Teresa Evans. On July 28, 2007, Chris Dorner and Teresa Evans responded to a call at a local hotel. The call involved a mentally unstable individual who was causing disturbances to the hotel staff and guests. The police quickly subdued the troublemaker, who turned out to be Christopher Gettler. The man was indeed mentally unstable, so they did not take him to the police station but simply escorted him out of the hotel and warned him that next time he would be arrested. It seemed that the incident was over, but it later played a crucial role in Christopher's fate. 2 weeks later, Christopher's mentor, Officer Teresa Evans, submitted a report on his internship. The report stated that he was not yet ready for full-time service and needed to improve in several areas. The next day, Christopher filed a report on Officer Teresa Evans' actions during the arrest of Christopher Gettler, the man they had escorted out of the hotel a few days earlier. The report alleged that Evans had used excessive force against Gettler, stating that she had kicked him twice in the face while he was already handcuffed and lying on the ground. An internal investigation was launched based on this report. The commission heard testimony from several witnesses. Christopher Gettler's father reported that when his son returned home on the day of the incident, his face was swollen, and he claimed that a police officer had hit him. They did not report this to the police at the time because the injuries were minor, and the young man could not clearly explain why he had been hit. Christopher Gettler himself also stated that he had been hit by a female officer that day.
The 8th, 2008, Monday, it is approximately 11:46 hours, and being interviewed and tape recorded with his permission is Christopher Gettler. Is that correct, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you about the police contact that you had with the at the DoubleTree Hotel. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember being taken into custody by the police?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Do you remember whether there was a struggle?
Mm-hmm.
And during that struggle, were you kicked in the face?
Mm-hmm.
You have to say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember how many times you were kicked in the face?
Once.
Okay. And do you remember where you were kicked in the face?
Right here.
Okay. And do you remember who kicked you in the face?
An officer.
Do you remember what sex? Was it a male or female?
It was a female.
Later, Gettler became confused in his testimony. He suffered from schizophrenia, and the commission deemed him an unreliable witness in the case. As for other witnesses, 3 hotel employees stated that they did not see any police officers striking Christopher Gettler during the arrest. One of the hotel employees also recalled telling Dorner to straighten his tie that day. But photographs from the scene showed that Dorner was not wearing a tie on the day of the incident, which already compromised the hotel employee's testimony. However, there could be no compromise in this case. There were only 2 possible outcomes. Either the commission would decide that Teresa Evans had struck the already subdued Dite, which would cause a scandal in the press, or they would decide that she was innocent, which would mean that Christopher Dorner had lied in his report. Ultimately, the commission stated that Dorner's report was not credible and that it was partially motivated by fear that his instructor, Teresa Evans, would give him a poor evaluation, which could end his career in the police force. On September 4, 2008, 8 months after filing the report, Christopher Dorner was dismissed from the Los Angeles Police Department. However, Chris decided to go all the way. He filed countless appeals in various court instances, requesting reinstatement to the service, but each time he was denied. He fell into a deep depression, his wife left him, and he wanted to return to the military, but his police report had also ended his military career. In 2013, with honor and gratitude but against his will, Christopher Dorner was discharged from the military. This was the final straw that broke him.
Helped us to grow individually and helped us realize that there's no one more right for us than each other. So,
what in the world?
Would you marry me?
Yeah. Yeah.
On the evening of February 3, 2013, in the town of Irvine, California, the bodies of a young couple, 28-year-old Monica Kwan and 27-year-old Keith Lawrence, were found. Both were shot in the head in the parking lot near their home. Monica was the daughter of former local police chief and current attorney Randall Kwan. Her fiancé Keith Lawrence was an officer in the public safety department. The murder was executed very professionally, with the killer leaving no evidence. The most plausible theory was that the murder was retaliation against Monica's father by a local gang for his police past. However, the next day, a document appeared online that clarified everything. It was an open letter from Christopher Dorner to the American people, consisting of over 11,000 words. Here are some excerpts. I know that most of you who know me personally do not believe what the media says about me. You tell yourselves that this is not in the character of the person you knew. I know that the press and the Los Angeles Police Department will insult me. Unfortunately, this is a necessary evil that I do not enjoy, but I must accept it to bring about significant changes in the Los Angeles Police Department. The question is what you would do to clear your name. A name is more than just a name. It is your life, your legacy, your sacrifices, and everything you have worked hard for every day of your life, whether you are a teenager, a young adult, or an adult. Do not let anyone tarnish it. If you are clean before your conscience, on July 8, 2007, I filed a report against Officer Teresa Evans for beating a suspect while handcuffing the suspect, Christopher Gettler. Evans kicked him twice in the chest and once in the face. The blow to the face left a visible wound on his left cheek. It is striking when an officer kicks a mentally ill person. Unfortunately, after reporting this to the oversight bodies, nothing was done. I violated their corporate ethics, and 10 months after successfully completing my probationary period, I was fired from the Los Angeles Police Department. It is clear as day that the department retaliated against me for the report against Evans. In September, during the hearing on my case, a video was played in which Christopher Gettler stated that he was indeed kicked by a female officer. This was also confirmed by his father, but they still found me guilty and fired me. During the hearings, the department unsuccessfully tried to label me a bully. They claimed that I harassed recruit Abraham Sheffrin at the academy, when in fact the investigation showed that I stood up for Abraham at a time when other recruits were singing Nazi songs about burning the Jewish ghetto, knowing that Abraham's father was a survivor of a Nazi concentration camp. How dare you say such things about me? Why didn't you charge me with filing a false police report when I reported kicking Mr. Christopher Dorner? You should have brought criminal charges against me. But you didn't do it because you knew I was innocent, and the criminal court would have found me innocent, exposing your department for covering up the truth and retaliation. That's why you didn't bring criminal charges. I asked journalists to investigate every place I lived as a child. Find all instances where I was accused of being a bully. You will not be able to do this because it simply does not exist. It is not in my DNA. I have exhausted all available means to restore my good name. I have used all legal judicial efforts within the appeals of higher courts. This is my last resort. The Los Angeles Police Department is trying to suppress the truth, and now it will lead to a deadly outcome. The actions of the Los Angeles Police Department cost me my career, which began on July 2, 2005, and ended on February 1, 2009. Essentially, I lost everything because the Los Angeles Police Department took my name and trampled it. Captain Field, Gladys Justin, Eisenberg, Randy Kwon, and Sergeant Anderson, you all knew I was innocent, but you decided to end me for the career of Officer Evans. I know about the meeting between all of you where Evans' attorney admitted that she kicked Christopher Dorner. Know that your day has come. Fortunately, I no longer have to live every day like most of you. Self-preservation is no longer important to me. I am not afraid of death because I died a long time ago on February 1, 2009. The attacks will cease when the department publicly declares the truth of my innocence. I will not accept any currency in exchange for stopping. I do not want it. I only need my name. There will be no negotiations. I know all your techniques, tactics, and procedures. Any threat assessments you use will be useless. I have nothing to lose. My personal loss means nothing. You cannot defeat a fighter who is not afraid of death. An enemy who accepts death is a loser. You know that I have always been the best shooter. Suppressing the truth will have deadly consequences for you and your families. I know your daily routine, the routine of your loved ones, and even your children. Where you work, live, eat, and sleep, there will be an element of surprise. Whatever pre-planned reactions you have developed for such a scenario, put them away. I will not harm civilians unless it is a deadly threat to me. I also do not want to harm ordinary patrol officers. Therefore, civilians and patrol officers, if you see my car, do not pursue it. If you continue to follow me or notify the police of my location in the hope of receiving a medal for bravery, know that you will not survive. Your family will receive the medal for bravery posthumously. It will gather dust on the mantelpiece for years, and then one day it will end up in a shoebox with other memories of you. Your mother will lose a son or daughter, your partner will be left alone but will find someone else to fill the void and will be happy with another person in the future. Your children, if you have any, will call someone else mom or dad. Do not be selfish. Think of your loved ones before trying to stop me. Also, think about whether these liars and scoundrels are worth dying for. For ordinary Americans, I want to say, do not think that a police officer is your friend by default. They will watch you bleed out, stating while waiting for the ambulance that it is not their business. They take pictures of your loved ones' bodies with their cell phones and play the game of who has the brightest flash. This is not just done by 20-year-old mindless youths, but also by 50-year-old adult officers from other departments. For my friends listed below, I wish we could have grown old together and spent more time together. When you remember our friendship, think of this and only this. Do not dwell on my last actions. It was a necessary evil that had to be done for me to regain my name. Luis Sanchez, my best friend, naval officer, pilot, and also the best father and husband. I never had an older brother, but I always wanted to have a brother like you. Jason Velado, the greatest friend, naval officer, pilot, great father, husband, doctor, and simply the best person. I always strove to live my life according to the same moral principles as you. Dominique is lucky to have found a man like you, and you are lucky to have married such an undeniably perfect woman, Dominique. Take care of this guy. I am very sorry that because of these damn courts, I missed your wedding and you had to find another driver. James Sarah, my friend, lawyer, father, husband, and the most politically incorrect friend one can have. Your best quality is that you never sugarcoat. Thank you for introducing me to fishing and hunting. We city guys don't get out here as often as you do. Oli Skins, I love you, brother. Sergeant Kenneth Collar, thank you for the interesting training and mentorship. You are the U.S. Marine Corps. Never forget that. I thank my friends for the wonderful shared experience. It is a bit sad that I will not be around to watch and enjoy the third part of the bachelor party in Vegas. What an amazing trilogy. Phil Phillips, you should not make a fourth part to avoid losing something special that this trilogy has. Thank you again to all my friends. You guys were all very important to me. Do not be angry with me. I missed some of your weddings and unfortunately some funerals. Some say it is my fault that I was fired. I remember being told in a fit of anger that I should have kept my mouth shut. Maybe then none of this would have happened, but I am not as complex as others. It is not in my nature. I am not an aspiring rapper. I am not a gang member. I am not a drug dealer. I am an American by choice and a son, a brother, a military man, a person who has completely lost faith in the system when the system betrayed and slandered him. I have lived a good life, and although I was not a religious person, I always adhered to my personal ethical code. I did not need the Navy to instill honor in me. It was already in my DNA, but I thank you for reinforcing it. Mom told me that sometimes bad things happen to good people. I refuse to accept it. In his address, Christopher Dorner declared war on the people involved in his dismissal. His first victim was the daughter of the attorney representing him in court, Randy Kwan. And since, in Dorner's opinion, Randy Kwan was in cahoots with the Los Angeles police and deliberately sabotaged Dorner's defense. At that moment, two major manhunts began: Christopher Dorner's hunt for the people mentioned in his address, and the California police's hunt for Christopher Dorner. It is no surprise that immediately after publishing his address, Christopher Dorner became the most talked about person in the U.S. More than 2,000 police officers were assigned to protect the homes of his presumed victims and to capture him. However, the problem was that most of the Los Angeles patrol officers were either recent graduates of police academies or simply people who had never encountered such a dangerous individual as Christopher Dorner during their service. He was an excellent military trainee, a brilliant shooter, and a man who had participated in real combat operations. He knew all their work methods and could skillfully resist any attempts by the police to determine his location. It is no surprise that the police were quite frightened of confronting him, so much so that they would open fire at the slightest suspicion of his whereabouts. This led to several civilians being harmed during the hunt for Christopher Dorner. But the culprit was not Dorner, but the police themselves. For example, on February 7 at 5:30 a.m., near the home of one of Dorner's presumed victims, police fired more than 50 shots at a blue Toyota. According to the police, the vehicle matched the description of Dorner's car. However, the car was occupied by 71-year-old Margaret Carpenter and her daughter, 47-year-old Emma Hernandez. Every morning, the women delivered newspapers in the area. The police claimed that the car was moving with its headlights off. Both women survived but sustained some injuries. They explained that they did not turn on the headlights in the morning to avoid waking anyone with the bright light. Later, the Los Angeles administration had to pay $4 million in compensation to the injured women. This was likely enough for them to never deliver newspapers again. Half an hour after this incident, police rammed another vehicle and also opened fire on it. According to them, it also matched the description of Dorner's pickup truck. However, it turned out that the vehicle was of a completely different make and even a different color, and the driver was a white man who was also unharmed during the shooting. Later, T-shirts began to be sold online with the ironic inscription, "I am not Christopher Dorner, please do not shoot me," mocking the police as paranoia. The police's fear was quite logical since, by this point, Christopher Dorner had committed another murder. On February 7, at around 1:30 a.m., two police officers were heading to guard one of the officers mentioned in Dorner's letter. They were stopped by a civilian named Daniel, who reported seeing someone resembling Dorner at a nearby gas station. The police went to the gas station and indeed found a pickup truck matching the description of Dorner's vehicle. They followed closely behind it, when suddenly the pickup stopped. The driver's door opened, and Dorner fired several shots at the patrol car, injuring both officers. They both survived but could no longer continue the pursuit. About 25 minutes later, in a neighboring area of the city, another patrol car spotted a vehicle resembling Dorner's pickup truck. However, they were less fortunate than their colleagues. During the shootout, Dorner shot Officer Michael Crane in the head and seriously injured trainee Andrew Tuckow. He did not finish off the trainee and fled the scene. The taxi driver who witnessed the shootout rushed to help the police. The best thing he could do in the situation was to bring the police radio to the mouth of the immobilized Andrew Tucko so he could report the incident to the dispatcher. The ambulance arrived at the scene swiftly. Andrew Tucko was taken to the hospital, underwent a major operation, but still survived. His mentor, Michael Crane, died at the scene. He, as Dorner wrote in his open letter, received a medal for bravery but received it posthumously. His wife lost her husband, and his children lost their father. Dorner himself skillfully escaped from the scene, and despite the entire city police force searching for him, he seemed to vanish into thin air. It was only 7 hours later that his pickup truck was found burned 120 kilometers from Los Angeles. The police suspected that he had hidden in the mountainous area, but every step had to be taken with extreme caution, as Dorner could be waiting for the police with a sniper rifle anywhere. 2 days after this, on February 9, the authorities announced their intention to review the case that led to Dorner's dismissal. And on the 5th day after Dorner published his address, the highest monetary reward in California history, $1 million, was announced for any information leading to his capture. This was the largest manhunt in U.S. history. Thousands of police officers were involved in the search. The authorities used round-the-clock surveillance of the region from the air, but Dorner still managed to hide successfully. This was greatly aided by the sudden snowfall, which significantly reduced visibility. However, it created problems not only for the police but also for Dorner himself. Since he obviously needed to find shelter in such weather, the police suspected that he might be hiding in one of the hundreds of mountain cabins in the area. However, during the inspection, every patrol officer knew that knocking on the door could cost them their life. It was only 5 days after the burned car was found that the police were able to track down Dorner. This happened only because Dorner, as promised, did not take the lives of ordinary civilians. On February 12, a phone call was received at the San Bernardino Police Department.
911 emergency, what are you reporting?
He's tied up by Dorner. He tied us up, he had pillowcases over our heads, and
How long ago did he tie you up?
it was like 15 minutes to 30 minutes.
Okay, so this all happened today?
Yeah, we're still tied up.
You guys were tied up?
Yeah, tied up still.
The caller was a woman named Karen Reynolds. She reported that Dorner had broken into their cabin, tied up her and her husband, taken their car, and left. He asked them not to call the police, but as soon as Dorner left their house, Karen managed to free herself and immediately reported to the police where Dorner was heading and in what car. He could have killed them both, and then the police would still not know where he was. But Chris remained true to his principles and did not harm Karen and her husband. Soon, the stolen car was found wrecked. After that, another person contacted the San Bernardino Police Department. The man said he was sitting in his pickup truck with his dog when suddenly the truck door opened and he saw Christopher Dorner with a gun in his hand. Dorner told him, "I don't want to harm you, but I need your truck. So take the dog and just go." This time, the police managed to get on Dorner's tail. One of the helicopters spotted the stolen pickup truck near a cabin. It was assumed that Dorner had barricaded himself inside the cabin. The first to arrive were Alex Collins and Jeremiah Mackey. Dorner gave them no chance, shooting both of them. Soon, all the main police and SWAT forces were deployed to the cabin, but Dorner had nowhere to go. He was surrounded, and the area within a 5-kilometer radius was completely cordoned off. But this was no longer important to Dorner. Initially, the police tried to extract him using tear gas and demanding over a loudspeaker that he surrender. When Dorner did not respond, the police used an excavator to demolish part of the cabin. After that, incendiary rounds were fired into the remaining part of the cabin, leading to a fire. The police offered Dorner to surrender, but he made a different choice and, already inside the burning cabin, Christopher fired his final shot. The fire continued until evening, and only the next day did the police report that human remains had been found in the burned cabin. The medical examiner confirmed that they belonged to Christopher Dorner. The cause of death was a bullet that Dorner had fired into his own head. After these events, public opinion was divided into two camps. Some believed that Dorner was an ordinary criminal and that he deserved to die. Others, on the contrary, considered Dorner a folk hero who fought for his honor. In their opinion, he opened the public's eyes to the deceitfulness of the police. In retaliation, the police did not even try to take him alive and deliberately burned him alive. In any case, whether you see Christopher Dorner as a righteous avenger or simply a punisher, his story is unlikely to leave anyone indifferent.